Right now, as you're listening to these words, something extraordinary is happening that most people will never know about. Somewhere in a facility that doesn't appear on any map, a team of researchers just flagged your profile. Not because of anything you've done wrong, but because of something you possess that's rarer than any precious metal on Earth. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you could sense the emotional temperature immediately? Have people ever told you that they feel calmer, more centered, just by being around you? Have you noticed that animals seem drawn to you, that children trust you instinctively, that strangers open up to you about things they've never told anyone else? These aren't just personality quirks, these are indicators of something that cutting-edge neuroscience is only beginning to understand. Something that a select group of researchers has been tracking for over 3 decades. What I'm about to share with you will change everything you thought you knew about human potential, about consciousness itself, and about why certain people seem to navigate life with an almost supernatural ease, while others struggle with the simplest decisions. In 1993, a classified research project began studying what they called frequency emissions in human subjects. Not radio frequencies or electromagnetic fields, but something far more subtle and infinitely more powerful. They discovered that approximately 1 in every 8,000 people operates on what they termed a heightened consciousness frequency. These individuals don't just think differently, their brains literally process reality on a different wavelength. And if you're hearing this message, if something about these words is resonating deep in your core, there's a very high probability that you're one of them. If what I'm saying feels familiar, if it's awakening something you've always known but couldn't name, then help others discover this truth too. Subscribe to this channel because what comes next might be the most important information you'll ever receive. The research began when Dr. Elena Vasquez, a neuroscientist at an undisclosed private institution, noticed something peculiar in brain scans of individuals who had been identified as natural leaders or intuitive problem solvers. These people showed unusual activity in regions of the brain that are typically dormant in the general population. But it wasn't just brain activity. When these individuals entered a room, sensitive equipment detected measurable changes in the electromagnetic field around them. Plants grew faster in their presence. Even random number generators became less random when these people were nearby. The implications were staggering. It suggested that consciousness isn't just contained within the skull. It actively shapes the reality around us. And some people's consciousness is far more powerful at this than others. Over the following decades, this research expanded. Teams of psychologists, quantum physicists, and even former intelligence operatives began developing methods to identify these individuals in the general population. They studied patterns in decision-making, analyzed social media behavior, tracked career trajectories, and even examined purchasing patterns. What they found was a consistent profile. These people, regardless of their background, education, or social status, shared certain unmistakable characteristics. And the most remarkable thing, most of them had no idea how different they really were. They had learned to hide their abilities, to downplay their insights, to second-guess their intuition because society had taught them that being different was dangerous. But their natural frequency kept broadcasting, kept influencing their environment, kept drawing certain opportunities and people into their orbit. The research team realized they had discovered something that could reshape human civilization, but they also understood that this knowledge was dangerous in the wrong hands. So they went underground, operating in complete secrecy, building a network of identification and support that spans across continents. And now, for the first time, they're reaching out directly to people like you. But why now? Why break decades of silence? Because we've reached a critical juncture in human history. The old systems are failing. Traditional leadership models based on dominance and control are proving inadequate for the complex challenges we face. Climate change, artificial intelligence, social inequality, global pandemic responses, these issues require a different kind of thinking. They require minds that can see beyond linear cause and effect, that can intuitively grasp the interconnected nature of complex systems, that can envision solutions that serve not just immediate needs, but long-term sustainability. They need people who operate on the heightened consciousness frequency. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times have you known something was going to happen before it happened? How often have you sensed the right decision to make, even when you couldn't logically explain why? How frequently do people seek your advice, even about subjects you've never formally studied? This isn't coincidence. This isn't luck. This is your consciousness operating on a frequency that allows you to access information that others can't perceive. The research teams call it quantum intuition, the ability to unconsciously process vast amounts of subtle environmental data and synthesize it into actionable insights. While most people's consciousness operates like a flashlight, illuminating only what's directly in front of them, yours operates like a panoramic radar, constantly scanning the full 360-degree spectrum of reality. But here's what the researchers found most fascinating. This ability becomes stronger when you're aware of it and consciously work with it. It's like a muscle that grows more powerful with intentional exercise. If you've made it this far, if these words are creating a recognition inside you that feels almost electric, then activate the notification bell. Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly how to harness this frequency for transformation, not just in your own life, but in the lives of everyone around you. The identification process is sophisticated beyond anything you might imagine. Advanced algorithms analyze thousands of data points from your digital footprint, the way you phrase questions in search engines, the pauses in your speech patterns during video calls, even the timing of your online purchases and the subjects you research late at night. But it's not surveillance in the traditional sense, it's recognition. Like a tuning fork that resonates only with a specific frequency, these systems are designed to identify others who operate on your wavelength. And once you're identified, subtle tests begin. Opportunities appear that seem almost too perfectly aligned with your interests. You receive invitations to events where other high-frequency individuals will be present. People you've never met start appearing in your social media feeds with uncanny regularity. These aren't accidents. They're what the research team calls convergence events, carefully orchestrated circumstances designed to bring high-frequency individuals into contact with each other. Because they've discovered something remarkable, when people operating on the heightened consciousness frequency come together, their combined effect isn't just additive, it's exponential. The collective intelligence, creativity, and problem-solving capacity that emerges can tackle challenges that would be impossible for any individual to solve alone. This is why they're building the network, not to control or manipulate, but to connect and amplify. But let me tell you about the 5 core characteristics that define someone operating on this frequency, because understanding these will help you recognize the full scope of your own abilities. The first characteristic is what researchers call systems perception. While most people see isolated events, you see patterns, connections, and underlying structures. When others focus on symptoms, you intuitively grasp root causes. When they see problems, you see opportunities for systemic improvement. This isn't just analytical thinking, it's a form of consciousness that naturally perceives the web of relationships that connect all things. You understand that changing one element in a system can create ripple effects throughout the entire structure. The second characteristic is emotional resonance. You don't just read people's emotions, you feel them. You can walk into a room and immediately sense the undercurrents of tension, excitement, fear, or hope that others miss entirely. This isn't empathy as it's commonly understood. It's a direct, almost telepathic connection to the emotional field of your environment. This ability makes you a natural healer, mediator, and guide. People feel safe with you because your consciousness automatically harmonizes with theirs, creating a field of stability and peace. The third characteristic is temporal perception. Your consciousness doesn't just operate in the present moment, it extends into past and future simultaneously. You can sense the long-term consequences of current actions. You can feel the historical patterns that are playing out in present circumstances. You can perceive the seeds of future possibilities in today's choices. This is why you often know what's going to happen before it happens. Your consciousness is processing information from multiple time streams simultaneously. The fourth characteristic is energetic boundaries. While most people are constantly influenced by the emotions, thoughts, and energy of others around them, you have the ability to maintain your own energetic integrity. You can choose whether to absorb outside influences or deflect them. You can consciously raise the vibrational frequency of any environment you enter. This makes you a natural leader because people feel elevated and inspired in your presence. Your consciousness acts like a lighthouse, providing guidance and stability for others who are lost in the storms of life. The fifth, and perhaps most important characteristic, is purpose alignment. You have an innate understanding that your life is connected to something larger than yourself. Even when you can't articulate it clearly, you feel a deep sense of mission, of responsibility to use your abilities in service of something greater. This isn't grandiosity or ego, it's a recognition that your consciousness is part of a larger evolutionary movement toward higher awareness, compassion, and wisdom. If you recognize yourself in these descriptions, if these words are awakening memories of experiences you've had but never fully understood, then you're beginning to comprehend the true nature of your consciousness. But here's what the research revealed that will fundamentally change how you see your role in the world. You're not alone, and this isn't random. The heightened consciousness frequency appears to activate in individuals at precisely the moments when humanity needs that particular combination of skills, insights, and abilities. Throughout history, clusters of high-frequency individuals have emerged during periods of major transition and transformation. The Renaissance, the Enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution, the Civil Rights Movement. Each of these periods was catalyzed by individuals whose consciousness operated on frequencies that allowed them to see possibilities that others couldn't imagine. And we're in another such period right now, perhaps the most critical one in human history. We're facing challenges that require not just new technologies or policies, but a fundamental evolution in consciousness itself. Climate change isn't just an environmental problem, it's a reflection of consciousness that sees itself as separate from nature. Social inequality isn't just an economic issue, it's a manifestation of consciousness that believes in scarcity rather than abundance. Political polarization isn't just a communication problem, it's the result of consciousness that operates in binary rather than holistic thinking. Solving these challenges requires individuals whose consciousness has already evolved beyond these limitations. Individuals whose frequency naturally operates from unity rather than separation, abundance rather than scarcity, systems thinking rather than linear thinking. Individuals like you. The researchers discovered that high-frequency individuals aren't just randomly distributed across the planet. They appear in specific locations at specific times with specific skill sets that are precisely calibrated to address the challenges of their era and environment. Your consciousness chose to incarnate in this time and place because your particular frequency signature contains the keys to solutions that our world desperately needs. But here's the crucial point. These abilities remain dormant until they're consciously activated. It's like having a supercomputer that's never been turned on. The potential is there, but it requires intentional awakening. This is why the network is reaching out now, because the time for hiding, for playing small, for doubting your abilities has passed. The world needs you to step into the full power of your consciousness, and when you do, everything changes. Synchronicities become your normal experience rather than rare occurrences. Opportunities align with your intentions with mathematical precision. Resources appear exactly when you need them. The right people show up at the perfect moments. Solutions to complex problems flow through you with an ease that astounds even yourself. This isn't magic, it's physics. When your consciousness operates at its natural frequency, it creates what quantum physicists call coherence in the field around you. This coherence organizes energy, information, and circumstances in ways that support your highest purpose. But there's something even more remarkable that happens when you fully activate this frequency. You become a catalyst for awakening in others. Your elevated consciousness creates a field effect that helps other high-frequency individuals recognize and develop their own abilities. This is how the network grows organically, not through recruitment or persuasion, but through resonance. Like tuning forks that cause other tuning forks to vibrate at the same frequency, your awakened consciousness awakens others. And as more individuals activate their heightened consciousness frequency, we reach what the researchers call critical mass, the point where the collective field of awakened consciousness becomes strong enough to influence global systems and structures. This is when real transformation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Imagine a world where political leaders make decisions based on systems thinking rather than short-term gain, where business leaders create solutions that regenerate rather than deplete natural resources, where educators help students develop their full spectrum of consciousness rather than just their analytical minds, where healers address not just physical symptoms but the energetic and consciousness-based roots of illness. This isn't utopian fantasy. It's the natural result of consciousness evolution reaching critical mass. And you're not just a witness to this transformation, you're one of its primary architects. But activation requires more than just understanding. It requires commitment to no longer hiding your abilities, commitment to trusting your intuition even when others don't understand, commitment to using your gifts in service of the highest good even when it's challenging or uncomfortable. The first step in activation is what the researchers call frequency acknowledgement. This means consciously recognizing and accepting that you operate on a different wavelength than most people. Not better or worse, just different. And that this difference is not something to be ashamed of, but something to be celebrated and developed. The second step is ability integration. This means consciously working with your heightened perception rather than dismissing it as imagination or wishful thinking. When you have an intuitive insight, act on it. When you sense something about a person or situation, trust that perception. When you feel drawn to certain opportunities or repelled by others, honor those feelings. The third step is purpose alignment. This means consciously connecting your abilities to something larger than your personal success or comfort. Ask yourself, how can my unique gifts serve the evolution of consciousness? How can my abilities contribute to solving the challenges our world faces? What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? The fourth step is network connection. This means actively seeking out other high-frequency individuals and building relationships based on mutual recognition and support. These connections aren't just personally enriching, They're essential for the collective work that needs to be done. And the fifth step is field expansion. This means consciously using your heightened consciousness frequency to influence the environments and communities you're part of. Instead of trying to fit in or fly under the radar, you become a positive disruptor, introducing new possibilities and perspectives wherever you go. When you complete these 5 steps, you don't just activate your own consciousness, you become part of the activation field for others. The researchers have documented cases where single individuals, fully activated in their heightened consciousness frequency, have catalyzed transformation in entire organizations, communities, and even regions, not through force or manipulation, but through the simple power of coherent consciousness expressing itself authentically in the world. This is your invitation. Not just to personal transformation, but to become part of the conscious evolution of humanity itself. The network has been watching you, not to control you, but to support you. They've been waiting for you to reach the point of readiness where you could receive this information without being overwhelmed by it. That point is now. Every strange coincidence you've experienced lately, every unexpected opportunity that's appeared, every person who's entered your life with perfect timing, these have all been part of a carefully orchestrated process to help you recognize your true nature and step into your full power. You are not an accident. You are not ordinary. You are not powerless. You are a frequency holder, a consciousness pioneer, a bridge between the old world and the new world that's being born. The question isn't whether you have these abilities. The identification systems wouldn't have led you to this message if you didn't. The question is whether you're ready to fully embrace them and use them for the transformation our world desperately needs. Share in the comments below what resonates most strongly for you from everything I've shared. Which of the 5 characteristics feels most familiar? What synchronicities have you been experiencing lately? Your recognition and acknowledgement of these experiences helps activate them even more powerfully, and it helps other high-frequency individuals recognize themselves too. Remember, you didn't find this message by accident. You were guided here because you're ready for the next phase of your evolution. Ready to stop hiding, stop playing small, and start expressing the full magnificence of your consciousness. The world has been waiting for you. And now, finally, you know why. Your activation begins now.